What's going on, everyone? Welcome to this week's live stream. Already got a bunch of people in the chat. What's going on? Let's see here. Let me get oh, okay, now we're up. Now we're up and running. How's everyone doing tonight? Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. I know I said I was going to start doing weekly live streams, and I did one, and then it took like 3 weeks off. But to be fair, things have been crazy around here the past couple of weeks, and they're starting to slow down a little bit. Not much, but a little bit. Enough that I can get back to the YouTube grind, including the weekly live streams. Stefan, what's up? Gabby B, what's up, man? Minnesota, Ohio, North Carolina. Yeah. Man, everybody's chiming in right now. Cool. So yeah, this is, if your first live stream here, this is, you know, kind of an open format Q&A sort of thing I do each week. Sometimes there will be topics to cover. Sometimes it'll just be random stream of consciousness thoughts. Sometimes we'll do, you know, gear reviews or whatever, you know. Tonight, though, I kind of wanted to talk about, you know, the 2019 festival scene, because we're kind of getting into the thick of it now. I've already played a couple of festivals this year already. So, wow, everybody's all over the world tonight. This is awesome. Were any of my guitars damaged by the fall? Okay, so I've gotten this question a bunch since I put that video up, and luckily, no. None of the guitars were really damaged. Actually, let me just show you. The only damage to really speak of was on the Dan Electro Baritone. I got a chip. See if that'll focus there. I got a chip out of the back of the headstock. But that's it that I can tell, you know. This seems to be okay. It's playing decently. It's way out of tune. And then the other guitar that fell was the Novo Ceres T. And quite honestly, I can't really see if there's any damage. Kind of a plus of having a relic guitar. It's because, you know, it's like if something did happen to it, I don't know what it is. But still plays great, sounds great. There's no, you know, nothing really to speak of. I think they all survived. So thanks for everyone's concern. But we're lucky. We're lucky that nothing worse happened. If you haven't listened to the newest episode of the Backstage Journal podcast, you should, because it came out yesterday. Today's Thursday, right? Yeah, it came out yesterday. I had Jeremy Shepard, the guitar hunter, on, and towards the end of the episode, I talked about something that I didn't really cover in the video. If you're not from the eastern United States or the midwestern United States, basically if you don't know what tornadoes are, I didn't really talk about it in the video, but if you go back and look, you can see it on my face that I was like legitimately scared. I thought a tornado was coming up, because apparently what happens when tornadoes strike essentially is the ambient air temperature can drop drastically very, very quickly, and that's what happened on stage. Over the course of our show, when we started playing, we had an hour set, and there was, you know, some dark clouds in the sky, but it was still mostly sunny, and it was high 80s. It was kind of hot. And by the time we were done and that wind gust came up, it had dropped to like the low 70s, high 60s, and the clouds got really, really dark. So the whole time we were loading out, I was pretty convinced that there was a tornado about to spring up on us out of nowhere. And our bass player, Kelly, was born and raised, he's originally from Kansas, which, you know, is smack dab in the middle of Tornado Alley. So he was worried about it too. You can see it on his face. we were both like just trying to get out of there as fast as possible. So yeah, it was rough. Somebody asked, how's the new Novo status, Jason? Yeah, so the new Novo is coming along very well. We've got the body cut out and routed. That was in my CNC video I put up last week, I believe it was. So body is pretty much ready to go. I think they're gonna glue the top on pretty soon. The goal is to have that guitar done by winter, or it's not winter NAMM, God no, summer NAMM. So really just a couple of weeks. We've got the guitar coming out. I've already talked somewhat about the specs and everything. I don't know exactly what I've divulged as far as what the guitar is going to be, but I think, actually leave in the comments what you think as far as specs. So finish, pickup specs, all that kind of stuff, because I can't remember like what I've talked about and what I haven't. But I kind of want to keep it a surprise a little bit. And I think RJ is sort of doing the same thing. I mean, obviously we know about Rontilio, which I think is a brilliant a brilliant name for that color. Is it featuring a cherry fretboard? No, it's not. What's up, Michael? Let's get to some comments here, some questions. Gabby, how's the Les Paul? The Les Paul's great, man. It's in yeah, I've really been enjoying this guitar a lot. Been playing it a lot. It's in open E right now. I've been playing slide on it on some gigs recently. But this thing's, you know, it's a cherry. This is a great Les Paul. So I'll be excited to go hang out with the Gibson guys at NAMM this year and get to play some more, because I want to see how this one stacks up to some more 2020. I guess this is a 2019. Yeah. And also I got the serial number wrong. In the Plek video, I said that this was the 49th guitar of production, and I was wrong. This was the 49th guitar of production on the day that it was made. So, yeah. Am I going for the hot pink guard? No, I am doing 3 pickups, Thomas, but do you know what type of pickups I'm doing? This is gonna be fun. I'm gonna see what you guys know. What's up, Ty from Columbia, Atlanta guy living down here. You mean Columbia the country or Columbia the city adjacent to Atlanta? What's the weight on this Les Paul? I think this one's actually pretty light, man. I think this one's maybe mid 8. I haven't weighed it, but I would say this is under 9 pounds. It's probably mid to high 8-pound range. Not chambered or anything, but this is a really good weight for Les Paul. The other Les Paul I used to own that I sold to buy my Novo, the Ceres J, that one was heavy. That was a 2001 Les Paul custom, wine red with gold hardware, ebony board, beautiful guitar, but it was every bit of like 10 pounds. So this one's way lighter than the one I had. Mini foils Bill, no. JT Firebird, no. Lipstick pickups AK, no. What's up, Dwayne? Locking tuners and strap locks total, are you talking about for the Les Paul? I'm leaving it stock for now. I'm just gonna let it, you know, be its stock form for a while. David, 3P90s, wrong. I'm not going to I'm not gonna exactly tell you guys what I'm doing because I want it to be a surprise. But how does the Dan Electro compare quality-wise to the other guitars? It's Chinese-made, Stefan. Yeah, that's a good question. So the Dan Electro, let me grab that real quick. It's cool. Okay, so I paid for this guitar. I have no relationship with Dan Electro whatsoever. I bought this from Atlanta Discount Music here in Atlanta. I haven't tuned it since CMA Fest this past weekend, which apparently did a number on this guitar. Quality-wise, for the price, I think I paid 350 bucks, and this is new. I didn't buy this used. So in that like $300 to $400 range, I think it's well made, man. You know, it's not the nicest guitar I own by any stretch of the imagination, but the fretwork is decent. The hardware, I mean, you can tell where they're cutting corners to get it to that price range. So like, if I was really gonna keep this guitar long term, which I'm not sure that I am, because there's, not sure if I can talk about this yet, but there's, it's not a Novo, but there is another company that I like that is making a baritone very soon. So if I was going to keep this guitar very long term, I would completely replace all the electronics. I'd do new pots, I'd do a new switch, I'd probably replace the lipsticks, and put something from like Brandon Wound in here. I'm not sure about the bridge, if you can replace, if you can upgrade this. I don't even know what style of bridge that is, honestly. But the bridge is okay. I mean, it's, what is that, die cast parts? It just, you know, but the actual build quality of the instrument itself, I think, is solid. So I'm just ignoring all of the comments. Robert Baker, what's up, man? Is that divided by 13 in the back? Yes, that is. That is my FTR 37. That's my like #1 pride and joy amp. It was my main touring amp for about 2.5 years, and it now basically lives at home for the most part, because it's, honestly, it's too loud. I talk about this all the time, but it's just so loud. It has a matching 212 cabinet, which is buried in a homemade ISO box right over there. It sounds amazing. It's like probably my holy grail amp, but it's just so loud. So for live use recently, I've been using the Tweed Deluxe down there. That's the Mojo Tone Tweed Deluxe, and it sounds amazing. So yeah. Oh no. Yeah, Robert, you do need to try one of these amps. So for anybody that is looking for, okay, here's my thing about divided by 13. Fred Tacone, this guy that builds divided by 13s, it's always basically just been him. He builds them, I think, basically in his garage in Southern California. They are some of the most well-built, well-made, best sounding amps you can get your hands on today. I mean, they're amazing, and honestly, they're works of art. When you open up the chassis of one of these amps and look at Fred's build quality, it's just insane, man. So that's the FTR 37. That's like their flagship amp. So it's basically 2 channels, 6v6. So what I like about it is it doesn't, it's not like it's not a Fender copy, it's not a Marshall copy or a Vox or whatever. It's kind of its own thing. So it's 6v6 based. So it kind of has the left channel, which is this channel right here. That's the channel I usually play through. That's kind of the clean channel, and it will get sort of Fender-y. You know, clean edge of breakup tones are really good for that. And then this other channel right here, that's called the click channel, and that's like the high gain channel. And you can jump the two together, and it also has a built-in spring reverb. It is without a doubt the best sounding spring reverb tank I've ever heard. And I've played old Fender tanks. Those sound amazing, but especially for like a stock amp or the stock reverb in an amp, it's the best. So I want to get another divided by 13 pretty soon, just because I love Fred's amps and I want to have a couple of them. I was at Tim Pierce's place a couple weeks ago, and Tim has, I think it's an RSA 33. And that's what I was playing. If you watched the video that Tim and I did together over on his channel, the amp I was playing through was Tim's divided by 13. So, Jasco, have you tried the Friedman Runt? No, I haven't, actually. I do have a new amp on the way, though. So the Bad Cat Cub 40R that I used in the Effects Loop video a couple weeks ago, Bad Cat is sending me one of those, which is super cool. That's a great sounding amp. And for the price, I gotta admit, man, I think the head for that amp is like $1,300 new. and I think that's hard to beat for that price. The divided by 13 is amazing. It's also insanely expensive, but I think you get what you pay for with this amp. But as far as like sleeper boutique amps goes, that Bad Cat is where it's at. Peter, is the band coming to Chicago soon? I don't know. So I'm playing with two bands. I play with Noah Guthrie and Good Trouble, and then Jesse Wilson. I'm actually playing Bonnaroo this weekend with Jesse, so I'll be in Tennessee on Saturday. I don't know if we're coming to Chicago at any point soon. Let's see here. Matthew, do I have the Switch Hazel? No, I don't have the Switch Hazel. I just need to buy one. I've been wanting to get one for a long time. Basically, the Switch Hazel is like a boost pedal, and it's for the divided by 13. It'll allow you to switch between the two channels. I'm not exactly sure why. If somebody knows more about this than I do, let me know in the comments. I've tried switching the channels in that amp with like an ABY box, and it just does not work. It doesn't like it. It makes this crazy squealy feedback sound. So, yeah. Zach, have you noticed any issues with the Kemper taking pedals compared to a tube amp? No. Oh, Matthew, RSA 31. That's it. I think that's the next divided by 13 I want. It's RSA 31. Wallace, Milkman amps. Milkmans are amazing. Really, really a big fan of the Milkman amps. Oh God. Okay, the Kemper with pedals. Okay, so I actually like to run my Kemper that way. Usually when I have taken the Kemper out on the road, I treat it like a normal amp, where I'm just kind of setting up one or two sounds and then using my pedal board with it. That's, I think, kind of vastly underutilizing the capability of the Kemper and what it can do, but I think it speaks to the fact that it takes pedals really, really well, and it does honestly respond. The front end of the Kemper responds pretty close to the front end of a real amp, depending on how good your profiles are. That's everything with the Kemper, is it's all based on how good your profiles are. That's really it. JB Duke parts caster build. Yeah, check this out. So for those of you that don't know, I'm doing a parts caster build and giveaway here on the channel. I didn't forget about it. I have pretty much all the parts. So here's the body. We had this finished at Novo Guitars a few weeks ago in this Aztec Gold. I mean, just look. Come on, focus. Look at that finish, man. Come on. And then I've got the neck here. Warmoth supplied this neck very graciously. This is the Warhead headstock design. Actually, good thing I brought this up. Any graphic designers out there, you want to design a logo that's going to go on this headstock, design it. Can't say Fender or any, you know, name brand, but, you know, maybe get creative with the name of the channel or something like that, or No Plan B or whatever. Get creative. Send me a design that I can print on a water slide decal that'll go on the headstock, because I don't like blank headstocks on parts casters. But there's the neck there. Let's see here. I've got all the parts are like right over here on this shelf. So I'll show you exactly what I have. Okay. Mojo Tone supplied we're going to do locking tuners, and I've got a set of Lawlers here. Let's see. Yeah, so we're gonna go with the Lawler Blackface. Those are not the pickup covers I'm gonna use, but we got the Lawler Blackface in there. Thing I love about Lawler is they do this awesome, like, handwritten. Let me see if I can do this without screwing up. Oh. It's cool. We're cool. Everything's fine. Everything's normal. Like the handwritten. There you go. Lawler Blackface Neck 2019. That's super cool. If the neck pickup doesn't work, we'll know why. And oh god, now I gotta box all this back up. RS logo on the headstock, Patrick. Let's see here. We're gonna do the Fender classic tremolo system. I went with a vintage. Oh god. Yeah, just a vintage style trim. So you can see there. We're gonna do parchment, parchment pick guard. I think the parchment will look super nice with that Aztec gold. And let's see, you got the neck plate here, Fender parts. Now this I'm really excited about. So shout out to Mojo Tone. They do the pre-wired wiring harnesses for all different types of guitars, every major guitar out there, Les Pauls, Strats, Tellys, basses, P basses, jazz basses. So this is a Mojo Tone pre-wired blender circuit. So this basically will allow you to blend the neck pickup in with just about any pickup combination that you're using. And I also love this packaging here, man. Like, okay, so they've got nutrition facts here. Look at this. Wait. Focus. Look at that. The nutrition facts. Let's see if you can read that there. Yeah. So I'm really excited to check this out. And I actually am probably going to start replacing like my PRS. I'm going to redo the wiring inside it. And my 335 probably needs to have the wiring redone. And so I'm probably going to use the Mojo Tone kit for that. But, and then these, I haven't talked about these yet. These are for me. Going to be replacing the Filtertrons on the Black Falcon soon. And there's going to be a video about that coming up. Probably about video on should you swap your pickups, and talking about things to think about before you swap your pickups and how to pick the right pickups and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, all that to say, we are still going to be working on the parts caster. Let's get caught up in the comments here. Canaan, you're dying to know what company is going to start making the baritone. Well, I don't know if I can. Let me send a message real quick. I might have gotten myself in trouble here by plugging it. Okay. Sorry, that's rude to text on a live stream. Yeah, Spencer, Tim did do just did a really cool pickup swap video. Major, is putting your guitar together much cheaper. It can be less expensive than buying an off the shelf, especially for something like a Fender. You know, parts casters are really popular things to do. But the thing is, depending on what kind of parts. So for instance, this build here, if I was to price this build out, it would probably cost almost as much as, you know, a typical like American Pro Strat from Fender. Now the difference is you get to spec every single part of the build out yourself, and in our case, like, you know, it's kind of hard to exactly tell how much this guitar would cost, because for instance, the Novo finish, you know, like, there's no, I have no idea. So Novo Guitars doesn't finish, they don't do this kind of thing. They did this as a favor. So I don't know what that would cost, you know. So this potentially could be like a $700, $800, $1,000 paint job, who knows. So it's hard to tell exactly how much this build is worth. But yeah. That's hemp tea. No, man, this is bourbon. This is my favorite bourbon from my favorite distillery that just closed. They no longer distill bourbon or rye, and so my wife Tilly, who's amazing, surprised me 2 weeks ago and bought the last 2 bottles of this bourbon that my local shop had. So I've got this bottle that I'm working through, and then I'm going to save the other bottle for like a rainy day. What's the body made of, Leland? That body is catalpa, which is basically like a swamp ash. Jerry, it's not Pappy. No. Although I have had Pappy. I've had a flight of Pappy before that was pretty good. Let's see, Jethro, will you ever collab with anyone else other than Mary Spender? Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, my plan is to do collaborations with as many YouTubers as, you know, will work with me. I've already done a video with Tim Pierce. That was amazing. Tim is a bit of an idol of mine. So, Gabby, take it easy, man. So everyone, Gabby Bergman in the comments has one of the best Les Pauls I've ever played. He has a Murphy aged R9 that is insane. His R9 is stupid good. Michael's still using the Helix. I am. In fact, I used it on this past weekend. I took it up to CMA Fest in Nashville. In fact, actually, I used it. Check this out. So last week I went on the road with Noah. We did a duo show together where he was on acoustic and I was on electric. I used the Helix for that. Then the next night we played a corporate gig, a fundraiser for a children's cancer charity, and I played bass on that gig. So I made a bass profile for the Helix and played bass. And then the next day we had 2 shows in Nashville for CMA Fest, and I used the Helix on both of those shows. That really, I think, is one of the biggest advantages of using something like a Helix or a Kemper, is the versatility of it. Like, I had 4 very different gigs in the span of 3 days, and I only had to take the Helix, and I did bring 1 power cab, but I just brought the Helix in the backpack and like 5 guitars. But yeah, it was great. And playing CMA Fest, you know, it's CMA Fest, if you don't really know, is kind of like, oh yeah, we broke 300 on a live stream. Thanks, David. That's the first time that's ever happened. Very cool. But yeah, for like CMA Fest, it's really great because you're running around from stage to stage and playing multiple performances in a day, and it's just a lot easier than having to rely on like a backline amp and getting your stuff set up. So, yeah. Canaan, have you ever had Lagavulin? I have had Lagavulin. It's not my favorite, to be honest with you. I'm not a big peat freak. Let's see. Evan, my guitars are okay with the storm. They made it through relatively unscathed. Ty, on the Helix, you were running 2 power cabs and wet dryer standard stereo. I've only done the 2 power cabs twice, and I just run standard stereo on that. Tim is the nicest guy. You're right, Matthew. Absolutely. Tim is like one of the nicest people I've ever met. Do you use a cabinet on stage with the Helix? Yes, I do. I think it's kind of necessary if you're using wedges. If you're on in-ears, you don't need the cabinet on stage. But for one of the shows at CMA Fest, I didn't use the cab because I just didn't want to deal with having to drag it through downtown Nashville. So I just used the Helix by itself, and that was actually not the best decision because I was kind of tied to my wedge. We were using floor wedges at CMA Fest, and so the only source of my guitar was coming from the wedge in front of me. And so when you're on stage, as soon as you step out of the firing line of that wedge, you completely lose all of your signal. So I like to move around on stage. You know, I'll walk over to the drummer, or I'll walk over to the singer, or whatever. And for that set, I was kind of like glued right in front of my wedge the whole time, which I didn't really like. So yeah. Thanks, James. Appreciate it, man. David. Let's see here. Dan, when are you going to get back together with Jamie to finish that song you started writing with him? Okay, here's the thing, man. We were actually supposed to write today. Jamie and I have been trying to get together to finish this project. So basically, Jamie Porti is a really good friend of mine, incredible producer, great songwriter, one of the most talented people I know. And he is going to be working on a solo record, and so he and I are starting to write for that. We were supposed to write today, and then Tilly and I had to go to the DMV, which sucked. So we're going to be getting back together next week to write. Chris, what was my first guitar? That was it's like a Starcaster by Fender. It's basically like a Squire Strat. I still have the body and neck, so I would like to at some point try and figure out how to like maybe build that guitar back up. The problem is it's all because it was a import, like Chinese made guitar. The bridge route and the dimensions and everything are all really weird, so we'll see. If anybody wants to see Jamie, he was actually on an NPR Tiny Desk concert a few weeks ago. Look up Lakaylee 47, amazing hip-hop artist, and the band she had backing her up was sick. So my friend Jamie on keys and singing, and then they had Justice West playing guitar, which if you don't know who he is, you should look him up because he's a monster player. Philly, ever play a Fender DeVille 212? What are my thoughts? Meh. Yeah, not my favorite amp, quite frankly. I would look elsewhere. In that Fender, I mean, honestly, man, just get a deluxe. Like that's probably what I would say. Either like one of the 68 custom deluxes or just a regular blackface deluxe reissue. Oh, Dan, you just watched that video this morning. So yeah, Jamie is the dude playing piano, and he gets a solo section where he sings a Ray Charles tune, and it's bad to the bone, man. It's so good. Let's see here. Coming to Kentucky anytime soon. Man, I hope so, because I want to do a Bourbon Trail tour. Weston, what's the band name with Noah? It's Noah Guthrie and Good Trouble. So, let's see here. Magnus, it's 3:34 a.m. in Sweden. Get some rest, man. Thanks for hanging out. Man, tons of comments tonight. This is awesome. Oh, Stefan, any slide recommendations? Yes. Let's talk slides for a minute. Okay. I have a bit of a collection of slides, and maybe there's a video that should be done on this. I'll show you. I'll start with my favorites. So this is my favorite glass slide I have. This is from Silica Sound. I don't have any affiliation with them. I just really dig this slide. Hand blown glass slide. It looks amazing. It does sort of look like some sort of paraphernalia, so, you know, be aware of that. And then these are my two metal slides that I really dig. These are from RockSlide, and these are really cool because they're like machined on a lathe, or well, and a mill, it looks like, but they're extremely well made, and they've got this cutout here. Oh, focus. They've got this cutout here which allows you to bend your finger around the bottom of the neck. So if anybody knows about Jack Pearson, that's how he plays, and he's one of the best slide players out there right now. I think he's probably one of the most underrated slide players out there. And then this is basically a steel version by the same company. Now, two that I really don't dig. This ceramic slide I bought in a pinch. I was on a gig and forgot a slide, so I had to go to Guitar Center and just buy whatever they had. And this is like the Joe Perry ceramic slide. It's cool. It sounds pretty neat. I just hate the shape. It's like huge, and there's no reason it should be this big. And I just don't, sorry to Joe, but I just don't really dig that logo like at all. That skull and wings thing, I'm just not really a huge fan of. But what's cool is it's checking, which is kind of neat. It wasn't like that when I bought it. And then this is like one of those bottleneck, it's literally a beer bottle or a wine bottle neck. And same sort of thing. I was at Winter NAMM this year, and Mason at Vertex asked me to play slide at their booth, and I forgot to bring one, and so I just bought this, and it kind of sucks. I'm not a fan. So yeah. Slide video. Yes, please. Awesome, Ian. So, let's see here. Drinking Woodford, Teddy. No, I'm drinking, it's called Opidan. O-P-I-D-A-N. Thanks, X More. Appreciate it, man. Let's see here. Favorite material for slide, Dan? I really dig, I'll grab my acoustic here. So, see if I can throw this thing in open E really quick. Without breaking a string. These strings are super old, so if they break them. Kind of scared. Close enough for government work. So I like glass. On electric, I really dig glass slides. Let me tilt the camera down just a touch here. On electric, I really dig glass, even though I'm playing acoustic. I find that glass on acoustic, it doesn't really have the sustain that I really dig. You can tell the strings kind of are dying out. And I'm not really sure why that is. So for acoustic, I really dig brass, especially this RockSlide here. You can hear it's got a lot more sustain. I'm not nearly as good of a slide player as I would like to be, but also open tunings in general are just really great to mess around in. How about a resonator, Rick? I do have a resonator right here, although I haven't touched it in a few months. Let's see what it sounds like. This is a biscuit cone brass body resonator from Republic. Ooh, God knows what. Let's put this in open. Ooh, let's go to open D on this one. I like open D. This one sounds pretty good. It's just these tuners are absolute garbage. I need to replace these. Like, these are the worst tuners. David, you're looking at a multi-effects board such as the Helix or Head Rush. Any thoughts? Well, I get asked about the Head Rush a lot, and I've never played one, so I can't really speak to it, but I really dig the Helix. Man, this is such a cool sound. But, slide in a while, a little rusty. You can tell Line6 they sold a power cab because of you. Man, that's awesome. It's crazy when I hear messages like that. What's up, Albus? So there's brass. So now we're gonna switch to glass and see. I feel like I'm getting a little more string noise. You know, RJ actually has a slide course video series, I think, coming out pretty soon. And I'm actually kind of excited to check that out because RJ is a massively good guitar player. So every time I watch one of his videos, I feel like I learned something or try and steal something from him. Ooh, Easton, just got in your first band. What are some things you should know? Man, that's a really good question. Okay, so let's talk about bands for a minute. First of all, Easton, let me know in the comments, like, give me some more details. What type of band is this? Is it original or covers or whatever? So, tips for being in a band. First of all, be reliable. No matter what type of band you're in, you want to be easy to work with. You want to be reliable. So that means understanding and learning the songs. knowing the set list, being on time for practice, being available for practice and rehearsals, having your gear somewhat together. You know, you don't have to have, you know, an insane pro level rig, but the gear that you do have, you want to, you know, have a solid understanding of how it works, how to get the most out of it. I think that is something that's really important that gets overlooked quite a bit by people is, you know, you might start accumulating gear, buying amps, guitars, whatever, and not really understand how the stuff works and how to get the most out of it. I think that's really important. So, you know, be on time. Leland, be in tune. That absolutely, you're absolutely right. Playing in tune is insanely important. But most importantly, I think you just want to be a good hang. I talk about this all the time on this channel, and this goes for really any situation you find yourself in, work, friend situation, whatever. You want to be a good hang. You want to be reliable. You want to be the type of person that anyone can get along with. You know, you don't want to be a doormat and let people walk all over you all the time, but you want to be the type of person that someone would spend 15 hours in a van with at a time and not want to kill at the end of the day. Like, that's generally the bar I'm shooting for, you know, somewhere in there. Tom Harhide, be flexible. You're absolutely right. Flexible, especially when you start gigging and playing out. And if you ever get to the point where you are touring or playing regionally, where you're like playing more than one show and traveling between them, flexibility is key. And having the expectation that none of your expectations are gonna be met can save you some disappointment. Especially, you know, getting back to kind of what I titled this live stream, you know, the festival season. Playing festivals are crazy things. Logistically, they are insane. And so you have to have this mentality of walking in like, okay, today's going to be nuts and it's going to be tough, and I'm just going to assume that nothing is going to go the way I'm expecting it to go. And when you go into that kind of situation like that, then it's usually a pretty good experience. The worst experiences I've ever had with festivals have been when I've like expected them to be these great experiences where everyone has their stuff together and knows what they're doing, and the logistics are all working, and the sound crew knows what they're doing. I've always been sorely disappointed, even playing on the biggest festivals out there. So I don't know how I got to festivals from being in a band. Oh, expectations. Manage your expectations. That's it. Okay. Jared, if you could only take 2 guitars on the road, would you go 2 similar, like 2 Fenders, have a backup, or 2 very different guitars like Gibson and Fender to have different tones? That's a good question. I always take 2 different guitars on the road. The reality is I don't break strings all that often. And so very rarely do I need a backup guitar. So I would rather have 2 guitars that sound completely different from each other that would do something different. So for instance, right now what that looks like is I'm bringing the Les Paul out, and then I'm bringing one of the Novos out. I'm either bringing the Ceres J or the Ceres T out. And that way both guitars have their thing. And basically what I'll end up doing is one of those guitars, usually something like the Les Paul, will be an open E tuning, because I play a lot of slide, especially on Noah's gig. I play a lot of slide. So I have one slide guitar and one standard guitar. And yeah, I like having 2 completely different things. Patrick, get some sleep, man. Thanks for hanging out. Easton, you're at work and didn't catch any of that. Well, watch it on the replay. Ooh, Warden, do I know any good resources on chicken picking? You got a call for a gig, but needed a true telly slinger, and I don't have the licks for it, so I had to turn it down. Well, I'm definitely not a chicken picker. I would recommend Ross Campbell. Ross is a fellow YouTuber and one of the gnarliest guitar players I know. He's a bad man. Ross, I think, has some good videos on chicken picking. Also, Jim Lill, Lill. Jim is a Nashville guy, and he's got a great channel, especially for country guitar playing. Jasko, thanks, man. Let's see. RJ always talks about the fund, so what's my fund going to be for this week? Oh, take my wife to dinner fund. Take Tilly to dinner. That's what that'll be for. So thanks, Jasko. That'll take Tilly to dinner tomorrow in Nashville. Oh, there's something in my cup. Gross. Darman, what gauge strings on the Les Paul? I do 10s on everything. 10 to 46. Oh, Rick, you're right. Greg Koch. Also check out Greg Koch. He is one of my favorite guitar players. Actually, like straight up. Just one of my favorite guitar players. Also, Jack Pearson. Jack Pearson has an online guitar academy that you can sign up on a monthly basis. It's like a subscription basis. And I believe Jack has some chicken picking stuff in there as well. Everyone should just go sign up for Jack Pearson's course because it's Jack Pearson and he's one of the best guitar players alive today. Mountain Man Music, the tone on the Jesse video hooked you. You're a metal dude, but dig this stuff. Thanks, man. I like fuzz pedals. What can I say? Yeah, Josh, you keep drinking. I mean, this is just bourbon, so whatever it is, you know, it's probably fine. Chewbacca said hello at CMA Fest. Oh, that's right, man. Yeah, that was really cool. I had some people come up and hang out at CMA Fest. That was really cool because I didn't plug that at all or announce that really at all that I was playing at CMA Fest, and it was still crazy that people found us. Let's see here. Noel, do I have a guitar tech? I don't have a guitar tech. I would love one. I just can't afford one. I've talked to my buddy Dave Honorato about going out on the road with me, and he's expensive. I'll just put it to you that way. He's really good, and it would be totally worth it, but he's not cheap. Oh, Michael, just got your first tube amp. Being a Fender Blues Junior is so hard to find a sound I'm happy with. Always feels so high-end and heavy, quite ice-picky. Okay, so you can't really see it, but down here is my Blues Junior, and I've had that since like 2011. And one of the great things about the Blues Juniors is you can mod them. There's a bunch of kits and different things you can do to get the Blues Juniors to sound really good. However, you should be able to get a decent sound out of it stock. So if it's really ice picky, try dialing out some of the top end. So bring the treble down, and also balance out the low end. So one trick that I learned from watching Matt Schofield in a video for how to EQ an amp, how to dial in an amp. Start with all of the EQ controls at 0, completely flat, and go with one control at a time and start playing, you know, a chord, open strings, whatever, and then roll that control up until it starts to do something. Most EQ controls on amps aren't linear, meaning they aren't, you know, 1 sounds like 1, 4 sounds like 4. A lot of times on amps it'll be like nothing, 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 and then, oh, I hit 4 and now there's the bass. You know what I mean? And then you roll past that and then it's kind of like nothing, 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 nothing. So what I like to do is start at 0, play a chord, and roll that control up until I hear it just start to open up and I hear it start to actually do something, and I'll leave it there. And then I'll go to my next control, my treble control or cut or whatever it is, and do the same thing. Play chord, roll that volume up, or the tone up, until it starts to do something. And then I'll start with that as my baseline. I'll play for a little bit and then make my adjustments from there. So let's see here. Bill M mods are great, Justin. Yeah, the Bill M stuff is awesome for Blues Juniors. Tom, is that the Dave that works with Rick Beato? Yeah, it's, if you've ever seen the videos that I've done with me and Rick Beato and the other dude, and we're just ranting about stuff, Dave Honorado is the other dude in those videos. Dave is, without a doubt, one of the most knowledgeable human beings out there when it comes to guitars, especially vintage stuff. He's like a wizard of vintage instruments. He's who I take all my guitar work to here in Atlanta. Him or Ben at Righteous Guitars. Rick, looks like it's ready to pour myself another. Yeah, I am, but I have to drive to Nashville in the morning. So I'm probably just going to do one. Hey, Rhett, if for some reason all of your guitars broke during a gig, what's your backup plan? Stop playing. If I got to the point where all of my guitars broke on a gig, something probably went horribly wrong, and it's probably not worth continuing the gig. So, let's see, what guitar am I playing, Jordan? This is a what is this? Oh, a Republic Resonator. I've had this guitar for probably 5 or 6 years now. No, 4 or 5. It's pretty good. They're kind of budget Resonator guitars, but you definitely should replace the tuners on these. Ty, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Going to the Take Tilly Out to Dinner Fund. How are you using your GFI Specular Tempest in your rack? I think, yeah. So right now I have the Specular Tempest in the shelf right here in my effects rack, and I'm using it essentially like a an outboard effect. So I was messing around with it yesterday, actually, where playing the Divided by 13, I have that cabinet mic'd up in the ISO box over here, and it's coming in through my Great River Audio or Great River Electronics preamps, hitting the Great River EQs, and then going through the distressors, and then going into my DAW. In that case, yesterday it was Pro Tools. And then I have a stereo send coming out of Pro Tools, going stereo into the Specular Tempest, and then stereo back into Pro Tools. And it sounded glorious. It sounded amazing. I want to get my live streaming set up so that I can basically have the audio streaming from my recording rig over there through the live stream, but I haven't figured that out yet because I'm live streaming from my laptop, and that's a bit of a logistical challenge. Rick, have you any experience with an Epiphone Casino? I really want to buy a Casino. I think they're great. Really, really cool guitars. Watch the Raptors win, Michael. I don't know what that means. Who are the Raptors? Noah, great question. What's the biggest thing you look for in a drummer? Time and feel. The best drummer I've ever played with, and I've been really, really fortunate to play with a lot of drummers, or a lot of really, really great drummers. The best one I've ever played with is Terrence Clark. And if you know anything about drummers, you might know Terrence's name. He does a lot of really cool stuff. Terrence has the best feel of any drummer I've ever played with. I don't know, man. Every time he plays the kit, it sounds like perfect. So my favorite drummers would be Steve Jordan, Terrence Clark, Stuart Copeland from The Police. I think Stuart was an amazing, well, he's not dead, so Stuart is an amazing drummer. And they all have great time, and they all have great feel and a really good sense of pocket. Nate Smith, I would also put in that category. Nate Smith is one of the baddest drummers alive right now. Aaron Sterling is the same way. If you don't follow Aaron Sterling on Instagram, you absolutely should be, because A, he's hilarious, and B, he's one of the best drummers out there. And I also look for drummers that understand tones. They understand, A, how to tune their drums, and they understand how to play to a song. You know, there's a lot more to drumming than just like playing in time and playing fills. You know, a lot of it has to do with how they're approaching their drums for each song. Ian, who I play with in Noah Guthrie's band, is great at this, because Ian's he has a great musical mind, and he's a great producer, so he understands how to play musically. Ross McReynolds, who I used to play with in the Muddy Magnolias, is another great example of this. Ross is truly a musician. He just understands music. Also, Timmy Jones, who I play with in Jesse's band, is the same way. Caleb Crosby is a really good friend of mine. He's the drummer from Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown. Caleb is another one of those drummers. He's just a powerhouse, man. He's a rock drummer who's capable of so much more than just rock, and I don't mean that to sound degrading to rock drummers, but yeah, again, John Bonham is another one of my favorite drummers. People who are just, they've got the feel, man. Brad, you play classic rock gigs where you need a humbucker and a single coil setup. Would it be better to take 2 guitars or an HSS guitar? Well, I pretty much always bring 2 guitars to a gig regardless of what I'm playing. But speaking of like Tyler Bryant, Tyler is a big HSS Strat guy, and his music is like straight ahead rock and roll, and it works for him. Oh yeah, Josh, Darren King. Darren King's another one of my favorite drummers, without a doubt. Troy, that's a really great question. Are there any guitarists outside of your typical listening playlist you really admire? Like a metal player, like Tosin, or a jazz player? Yes. Pasquale Grosso, I posted him on my Instagram story yesterday. That dude is unbelievable. I'll throw Tosin Abasi in there as well. I'm not... You know, Tosin's, the Animals as Leaders stuff is not necessarily my cup of tea musically, but Tosin just is such a powerhouse on the guitar. Let's see. Man, I do listen to a lot of different stuff. You know, that's the thing. Raptors are leading. Oh, what was the Raptors thing again? I missed that. Have I ever tried a Michael Kelly guitar, David? I don't. Trying to remember. I've played a Mike Tuttle guitar, which is really good. I don't know if I played Michael Kelly though. Jay, you can have one pedal and one pedal only. What is it? The Line6 HX Stomp, for sure, because that's basically an entire rig and a pedal. See you, Ty. Thanks for hanging out, man. I think I just drank whatever was floating around in my glass. So, there we go. Zach, could I do an intro to slide guitar video? I actually have done an intro to slide guitar video. If you search my channel, it'll be in there. How many drivers are in my in-ear monitors? So currently 4. I've got 4 driver monitors, but I'm about to be upgrading to another set. Maybe not upgrading is the right word, but I'm about to get a new set of in-ears. Somebody told me one time that you want to replace your in-ears every 4 or 5 years, and I would agree with that, depending on how much you use them. And I use mine a lot, and mine are right at 5 years old, and it's time. They're a little worse for wear. So they're quads right now, meaning, so if you're not familiar with in-ears, I am going to be doing an in-ear specific video whenever I go to get my ears remolded for my next set of ears. And in that video, I'll go in depth as to, you know, how in-ears are made and what to look for and drivers and everything. But essentially, if you're looking at a pair of in-ears, one of the biggest things you'll have to decide is how many drivers you want in those ears. And drivers you can essentially think of as speakers, okay? So most guitar players, I would say you don't need anything more than like 3 drivers. So a 3 driver in-ear would mean you'd have a driver for the low frequency, a driver for the mid frequency, and for the high frequency. I like quads because in my in-ear mix, I like a lot of bass guitar and I like a lot of kick and snare drum. Those are like the 3 biggest things in my mix alongside my guitar. So because of that, I like quad drivers, and quads basically are a low driver, a low mid, a high mid, and a high. So you get a little better separation between the low end. But the thing about in-ears is they're only as good as the person mixing your monitors. You can have crazy expensive 16 driver, you know, top of the line in-ears, and if you have somebody mixing monitors that doesn't know what they're doing, they're gonna sound like garbage. Conversely, you can have a set of dual drivers that cost you $200 with a great monitor engineer, and they're gonna sound perfect. So, you know, in-ears aren't the end-all be-all. I'll put it to you that way. Am I coming to Gear Fest, Suzanne, in Sweetwater? I'm not, unfortunately. I will be at Summer NAMM, though. So, if anybody's going to be around Nashville for Summer NAMM, going to be doing some stuff over there with like Novo, possibly Echo Park as well. And I'll be around the floor. So come say hey. John, thanks. You've been digging the vlogs, man. That's great. I appreciate that. I've been digging making them. Let's see here. Oh, people talking about the NBA. Is that what the Raptors thing is? I keep forgetting to look at that. I don't care about sports. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Maxwell, you're a drummer, but primarily, but you're looking to learn a little guitar, something in the $200 range. Go used. And, you know, try and get like maybe a used Mexican Fender, you know, Fender Strat or Fender Tele. You could probably get something in like, if you're willing to go to $300, if that's in your budget, I think you can get a lot more guitar than $200. And if you can push it to $400, you can get a really good guitar, I think, for $400. Rick, thanks, man. That'll buy a very nice bottle of wine at dinner. Appreciate it. All right, Warden, thanks for hanging out, man. Dominic, thoughts on Blue microphones? I really dig Blue. They're actually a sponsor of both the podcast and the channel, and a lot of the mics that I use to record are Blue microphones. I think they're really great. I like them for the podcast especially. I have the Encore 300s that I use for the podcast. So depends on what you're looking for. But yeah, I'm a fan of Blue. Josh, did I use universal fit in-ears before the molded ones? No, I've always used molded ones. I've always had molded in-ears. The only times I've used universals have been when I've like forgot my own in-ears. I would say if you can afford it, you should definitely go for custom molded in-ears. JB, did I see Rick's interview with Frank Mbali? I did. It was very good. Very entertaining. All right, we got a couple more minutes here, and then I've got to go pack for Bonnaroo this weekend. So get your questions in now. Michael, Novo guitars, why are they so good? The answer is Dennis Fano. That's why. Somebody was asking me earlier about my Ceres J. Yeah, the answer is Dennis knows how to design a guitar and build a guitar. That's why. Let's see here. What are some good mid-range acoustics? I know you aren't a fan of Taylor Electronics. Yeah, so I'm not a fan of Taylor Electronics, but I am a fan of Taylor guitars, which sounds weird. So what I would say, you can get a really great Taylor, but buy one. Yes, Troy Pasquale Grosso. That's what I was talking about earlier. I would say buy a Taylor that doesn't have the pickup system in it, and put your own in it. I like the K&K Pure Mini. That's what I have in my Bourgeois, and it sounds amazing. But mid-range acoustics that are really good. I think you can get some lower-end Martins that are really, really good. I would say some of the Larrivee stuff is also really good. I'm not super up on my acoustic game, though, to be honest with you. That would be more of a Jeremy Shepard, the Guitar Hunter guy, the guy I just had on the podcast. He would know a lot more about that. Let's see here. Can you use your Helix presets on an HX Effects pedal? No, you can't, but I will be releasing some HX Effects presets pretty soon. Michael, Star Wars or Star Trek? Star Wars all the way. Last night, Tilly and I were actually talking about, they just, oh my God, in Disney World and Disneyland, they are opening the Star Wars park. And when that happens, I'm going. That's like a childhood dream come true. Oh, yeah, Steve, Eastman acoustics are very good, for sure. Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, Peter. So, yeah, Star Wars all the way. Let's see here. Indiana, Michigan tour dates, Suzanne. Man, we just played in Hobart, Indiana last week. Or week before last. Michigan. I think I am playing Detroit, and somebody else was asking about the Black Keys dates. Those will be up on my website soon. I'm going on tour with the Black Keys with Jesse. We're opening for the Black Keys in October. And that'll be a Northeast tour. And I think we are doing a Detroit date for those shows. So that'll be really cool. JR, Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland just opened. Yes, that's it. Galaxy's Edge. For sure. That's going to be amazing. All right, a couple more minutes here, and then I'm going to sign off and go pack. Leo, do you think you'd be able to play bass if you had to? Yeah, I played bass on a gig last week with Noah, and it went surprisingly well. Ian, have I tried the Line6 HX Effects? I have. I have one in the rack right behind me right now, and it sounds amazing. Suzanne, Jessie who? That's Jessie Wilson. Jessie with a Y, Wilson. Her first record just came out. So, let's see here. It's about the live rig. What splitter model are you using? Very confused by the end of it. I actually don't know what model of splitter that we're using. Ian and Noah spec that rig out on their own because they're the ones that paid for it. So, Bill, am I nervous about the Black Keys gig? No, I'm not. I'm unbelievably excited about it. It's going to be us and then Modest Mouse and the Black Keys. So I'm actually not nervous. I'm really, really, really pumped for it. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. So cool. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. And let's see here. Someone says I'll give you $8,000 for that guitar right now. Would you, Javier? Absolutely not. This guitar is not leaving my possession as long as I can help it. So, cool. Yeah, that's going to do it for tonight, everyone. Thanks for watching. I will see you next Thursday. Next Thursday, I'm actually going to be in Nashville. So, I will be doing this. The stream will look different next week, but I will make it a point to have the stream. Maybe we'll do like a Nashville themed stream. Ooh, maybe I'll stream with RJ. There we go. I got to call RJ Ronquillo. So, cool. Awesome, everyone. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you next